Hey, what's up? I'm Ken, and we're talking comments from last week. If you watched this week's video, you know that I've already commented on one of the comments, and then I'm just going to start doing my favorite comment of the week at the end of each of the Ken Learns Kenfu videos, and then I'll have this segment that's just comments from last week. Hopefully that gives us a little bit more time to have longer discussions without making the videos an hour long. For the people that enjoyed that, having that back to back, then they'll be able to just play them one after the other. For the people who that didn't really mean much to you, then you're probably not watching this video. And for the people, I guess, if there's people that really just like this part, I guess you can watch these by themselves. All in all, hopefully this is helpful. Comment, please let me know what you think about this. If this is good, if you like the idea of these being separated off into their own video, or if you think I'm going the wrong direction by doing that and pulling that away, we'll see. And I guess by views and likes, you'll tell me, the analytics will tell me whether or not this was a good choice. And then we'll find out. Cumbrian Yeti says, first off, Cumbrian Yeti, I really like that screen name. That's awesome. He says that he's just come across the channel. He totally agrees on fitness. I returned to karate last year after 20+ year hiatus. For years I told myself I was too old and too unfit to start again. But like anything, you get good by doing. You do. You gotta do it. You don't get good by not doing, right? Video here on some thoughts on not doing, I guess. But you can spend so much time not getting around to something because you're waiting for some arbitrary time to come by. He goes on to mention that his own sensei has written 2 books now out of a 3-book series on Nahachi and Tekikata, which he highly recommends for anyone interested in Kata-bunkai and or Nahachi in particular, which I am absolutely interested in, and so I'm really glad that you've linked that. Be sure to notice the books are Nahachi Tekikata, The Seed of Shuri Karate by Chris Denwood. I'm going to be picking up a copy of them. I hope that you guys do the same and leave your thoughts on what you think of those. I'm excited to read them. Tim Jurgens says, martial arts is also great for people to get into shape because it is possible for people to do what they can and take a break when needed. For example, if there's a drill where there are 50 punches required, but you can only do 20 and need a break for a few reps to catch your breath, and then you can do that and pick up the count at number 30 or number 40 or what is needed. It's not like long distance run where you will get left behind as the pack pulls away from you. No one in a good dojo will have a problem with someone taking a breather when needed. In fact, they're usually very supportive and will notice your progress. What a really good observation. This idea that if you take a little break for a little bit and you jump back in, that you're still with the group and you're still learning and growing together and you're still making that progress. And you're right. A good school, people are there to cheer you on and help get you motivated and are noticing when just that little break, maybe stopping at what do you say, 20 of these and then jumping back in at 40, then maybe a couple weeks later you're jumping back in at 30, then you jump back in at 25, then you're not taking a break at all. That's progress. And that's a progress that I think is super important. And it has to build over time. Tim, thanks for that. Tim also says, any shape to start, any shape to keep going, which I really like. Any shape to start. We talked about that. You just need to start. And then that will inform your decisions on what things you need to do from there. But any shape to keep going. I think a lot of times we come up with some idea of what is or is not or what's changed, and then we think, well, I can't do this or that to go forward. And any shape to keep going. Just because things aren't how you pictured them doesn't mean it's time to stop. I like that a lot. Everlasting Win Chun says, I'm only about a quarter of the way through the video. I like that. I like that you took the time to stop and go, I have something to say and I want to say it. I hope more of you are doing that. Just drop down, say something. You can always pick it up again later or whatever. About 10 years ago, I bumped into the first teacher of your friend Tuari and explained that I was trying to piece together the first kata as I learned it when I was age 10. Being a fit 30-year-old at the time, he met me on an open field. In my own martial art, Wing Chun, we work a lot on standing with balance. Tuari's teacher seemed 60 or 70 with super big knuckles, fluid movement, but felt like a man made of concrete. To this day, I am humbled and inspired by a part of the kata, Gekisai Daiichi, the what to an outsider looks like a chop, but how he used it was my arm was twisted out straight, and the way he did the leg flick after that chop was totally and absolutely off balance, and I could tell that it was an absolute use of skill that was affecting me in this way. Very inspiring that at an older age, by using skill through training, one gains power over time rather than losing it compared to arts relying on muscular ability. I still practice the first karate kata from time to time years later because of it. So much in there, a lifetime training with just one form. How cool is that? And how cool is it to see the connection between people? So now, you've commented a few times before, and now to see that there's a connection between you and Tuari Dawson, and that you guys share at least an instructor as far as some knowledge goes, and seeing how all of this ties together. It's really, really neat. So thank you for sharing that story. Nicholas NJ says, if there's no kata, it's not karate. Kanku basically includes all the heian kata, so if Kanku is the one, that is okay. I'd say Kanku and Tekyu Nidan, so that would be 2 kata. This is obviously to the comment that maybe you need kata, maybe you don't, but you need to train. You know, I personally disagree that if there is no kata, it's not karate. Karate is fundamental. It is absolutely, to me, 100% part of karate. But I do believe that somebody could train karate without kata. For example, I could teach someone karate and never teach them a kata. But if we one-on-one train and we spend this time, I absolutely believe that I could pass to them karate in its perfect and excellent form without ever having actually taught kata specifically. Do I think it would be a disservice to not give them that? Absolutely. But I think that they could learn and be functional with karate without kata. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule. I think it comes down to your situation. And if you're training in a group, kata is a massively functional thing. If you're training one-on-one, it's something that maybe is easier to do without because you can spend all of that time training. I don't know, there's different ways to approach it. Karate without kata is not something, it's not a path that I would choose to follow. But I do believe that it's perfectly acceptable to follow it that way. Ben Dean says, as my coach says, waiting until you're fit to start a martial art is like waiting until you know everything to start school. This was almost the comment of the week on the main video. I just really, really like that. You know, waiting till you're fit to start is like waiting until you know everything to start school. Yeah. You don't get to know all this stuff. You don't get to develop the way you develop. You don't get to have all of that without starting. Because the truth is, if you manage to have all of that, then you've already started. David George says, returning to training after about a year off due to the pandemic, and I'm living the said principle because I'm feeling the aches and pains of those said adaptations that happened in the prior years of training without knowing they were happening. Even in simple warm-ups like Koho Tinto Ando, back rolling exercise, my abs are crying. I'm now about a month back and things are settling down. My weight didn't shoot up during the time away, but I also wasn't doing those exercises. It's coming back, but it's taken time. I don't even want to think about stamina lost. It all comes back, but it's been eye-opening to experience how much physical difference came and went without being noted. You bring up a really important point, David, which is that the said principle applies both ways. It is not just a positive thing. You do negative things and or don't do things, and your body will adapt to those too. I certainly know that there are certain parts of my life and my training and my body that the said principle has applied negatively to me, and it takes concentrated effort to bring that back. So kudos for that, and thanks for the comment. Foundation Healing Arts says, I'm lucky that my karate school introduced Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga to my program. It's now just as important to my daily practice as the karate is. The yoga is for overall strength and flexibility so that I can use the said approach for the karate and not get hurt. Every martial art needs some kind of base strength program. Completely agree, and I really, really like yoga, and Ashtanga it's one of the first ones that I experienced, and I really liked it. It's probably one of my favorites, but there are many variants. We're just getting ready to start a Kundalini yoga program in our school, and I think that yoga, Tai Chi, different types of other things are all really great when it comes to this stuff. And man, I tell you what, yoga combined with martial arts is just such an excellent combination for general body mobility, flexibility, and strength, and balance. Balance is another big one that comes in, not just can you stand on one leg, but just all kinds of different balance. It's a great way to augment whatever training you're doing, in this case karate, but any training. So I love it. I love that. Jackie Byers says, I've been obese my entire life and I've believed I'd have to be in much better shape to begin karate, but I was never getting into better shape. Last year I just started anyway at age 41. Now I'm not obese anymore. It was hard. I had no stamina or strength, plus some limitations, heavy duty knee braces, etc. But my dojo convinced me all of that could be worked around and I could do it. I train 1 to 2 times a day and it has made such a huge impact in my fitness, but also my mental health. I encourage anyone who has wanted to start their journey but been feeling too out of shape to just start. You'll be amazed at how quickly you see improvement in your fitness, but do have realistic expectations around weight loss and know that diet plays a really important role there. Jackie, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's so awesome, and kudos to you for doing it, and congratulations on the progress that you've made. I think that's so great, and what's even better is you're describing a school that I would be happy to train at, a place that helps convince people that any obstacle that is in their way is just something that can be managed, and to keep training and to find your ways around it is a place that's worth training in. I completely believe that. And I have those same conversations with people looking to our school to go, oh, what about this or what about that? And it's like, let's figure it out. Sometimes I have the answers before you come in. Sometimes I've got to figure it out with you. I had somebody come in and start training who was a double leg amputee who wanted to learn jiu-jitsu. She was coming in for her daughter, and we started talking about it. And, you know, we started doing karate and jiu-jitsu, and it was a challenge for me. But it was awesome. I got to learn so much by having to see the differences in the things. Like, just because one thing might not work doesn't mean there's not something else that could. I love it. Slider X says, a good instructor will take note of your fitness level and knows ways to elevate and push your level without killing you. Starting training is probably one of the best things you can do to improve your fitness. And just so you know, I'm posting that flex. He did post that flex. He threw it up on Instagram. If you're not following him on Instagram, you should. But that's absolutely true. One of the things we were just talking about this yesterday on a phone call. We were talking about this idea that if you never do, the instructor never gets to see where the deficiencies are or where the improvements could be made. If you just don't do it because you can't, then any number of things could be the answer. If you start doing it, suddenly it's really easy to see what the answer is and what things are not on the list of things that need improved. Instructors are not psychic. You got to give them something. Johnny One Angry says, I've trained in a few martial arts, from traditional Chinese martial arts to BJJ and TKD. It was the physical training in Taekwondo that made me get to the next level. Kung Fu has had great strength and core building exercises. BJJ at 2 gyms I went to just had 10-minute warm-up, but Taekwondo was like going through a boot camp. Non-stop drills on speed, agility, and endurance. Constantly in the middle of class, the instructors would make everyone stop and hammer out 50 to 100 push-ups, and then keep training. A few minutes later, they'd yell, stop, and make everyone do tap drill sprints for 5 minutes at full sprint speeds. At first, most couldn't do sets like that, so the number of reps usually matched the belt. White belts only had to do 10 reps, green belts 30 to 40, black belts 100 reps, no excuses. The amount of physical training we went through would have made most people a great fighter without even teaching any of the punches or kicks. You'd be tough enough to defend yourself just on your level of physicality. It's interesting that you see that, having trained in different places, that each one approaches it differently, and not all are equivalent. Most people will be like, well, BJJ is going to be the main one that is going to be most applicable, best fighters. You know, a lot of people feel that way right now. And then you're going, hey man, my physical fitness came out of my Taekwondo. It probably made jiu-jitsu better. You know, this idea of stopping in the middle and dropping into push-ups and things like that just periodically throughout class has actually been on my mind lately, so it's funny that you mentioned that. MG says, the SAID principle is super important to remember for those who want mileage out of their arts. When I started martial arts as a teenager, I hadn't done any athletics ever. I just sat on my butt for years, and I was stiff as an old man. I was only given warm-up exercises and stretching to do every day for about 2 months. I was lucky I kept at it. I had to pay 6 months in advance and when I started, because every day was like, when do I get to learn Kung Fu? I'm just warming up for 3 hours. Then one day I wasn't stiff anymore. Then one day I had striking power. Then one day I could move freely. I love that story. I love that. And it matches so many. It seems like a very just Chinese approach, at least from all of the popular things that you hear said. This idea of, I'm going to slap water forever, and then I never learned anything. And then they slap the marble table and shatter it because of all the strength they developed by slapping water every day. You know, these things. But what I really like out of this, what that you said, was that, hey, at the beginning, just warm-up exercises. You're just going to train these warm-up exercises. There's so much contained in the warm-ups. I'll be honest, the way that I design a lot of the warm-ups that we do is based around the idea that they are functional mechanics, body mechanics, biomechanics, strength building, stuff that applies across the board. Really, a lot of warm-ups are technique into themselves. So, really cool. Mary Schleicher says, personally, I think I'm one of the general group. When I started my martial arts journey at 18, I was what you would call skinny fat. But over the years, martial arts taught me to listen to my body and to recognize what's good for me. It brought me even to a little bodybuilding. And although I made every mistake you could imagine, the results did come. The right training and nutrition has an immense effect on the human body. I'm not at a martial arts school. I start my training very slow and end up with very explosive exercises. Starting with my kata, then with drills, both for concentration, shadow boxing for stamina, some general stuff like push-ups, planks, and burpees, and end up with weight training or high-intensity interval training. Depends on the day. For everyone, get informed, start slow, and develop your training over time. I definitely can't deny the benefits. Hitting the big 3 at the end of this year, and I'm feeling much greater than I ever was when I was in my teenage years. All that thanks to Wing Chun and Eskrima. Best decision of my life. I love hearing these stories because I love hearing how the martial arts has improved people's lives. And improving your fitness, improving your health, improving your nutrition is a life improvement. It's a life enhancement. It's something that makes every part of life better. So this is really cool. Thank you, all of you, for sharing these comments. I hope that you do it again this week and we can get together again next week. Again, let me know how you feel about this being a separate video and having them kind of off on their own. I guess you guys can take the challenge to see if you can be the one with the #1 comment who makes it into the main video. But in the meantime, thanks for watching this. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time.